Greetings, my viewers. It's been a long time since I made a video, so here's a new one. I'm going to be making a diorama for a Warhammer Knight model in Adeptus Titanicus. That's the scale. So we're going to cover the base with burnt umber and then apply dirt on top of it, and you just pick up the base, flip it upside down, and tap off all the dirt. After the burnt umber, we apply dirt and just cover the base with it. This time it turned out really good because of all the different colors in the base. For trees, we're going to be using a mix of JTT Scenery 2 to 2.5 inch trees and one custom tree. For the trees, we just take a bunch, a mix of dead and alive trees and just scatter them about. So my original idea that sparked this diorama was I wanted to basically recreate a scene from a movie that I saw. I can't remember. It might have been a dream now that I think about it actually, but it was this giant robot that was running through a forest and trampling all these trees and so on, and it was trying to chase down a couple of people, and that's the inspiration I got for this diorama. At the end result, I didn't put enough grass, so I had to substitute it later down the line with more kind of like foliage. Now for the meat and potatoes. It is a Warhammer 40k Knight model, and I'm going to paint it in some very, very not Warhammer colors. So I assume since you were watching this video that you at least know how to put these together or have watched Adeptus Titanicus videos before, so I am just going to do a montage of me actually building it. I've left in a lot of my mistakes, so you can judge me however you want. I will also point out these mistakes when they happen. It took me a lot longer than I care to admit to actually get this first section put together. But in the end, I got it to put together, and it actually looks kind of cool. Now here's the first mistake. So I already built the first half of the torso, and I decided to build the other half without realizing that that's not how you're supposed to do it. As you can see, they do not fit together at all. Yeah, I didn't realize that you're not supposed to actually mirror the other side, so that was a very fun learning experience. As you can see from me going back and forth between my model and the sprue in a panic, I had to figure out what I did wrong. Then that's when I actually looked at the instruction manual and I found out that there is a dedicated piece to go on to serve as the other side of the torso. And yeah, that was a fun experience to learn. Read the manual, boys and gals. Then I cut the carapace from the sprue, and then I attached the light bolter or whatever this is to the carapace. So my initial idea was to have the carapace stubber looking left, but it turns out that it has almost no room for posability with the actual torso, so I had to settle for it to look forward and down. These models are super fun to build. As you can tell, this is my first actual plastic model I've put together, besides the Executor Super Star Destroyer, but that had a lot of bigger parts, this has a lot of small parts, and I will definitely be building more Adeptus Titanicus models in the future. So now, actually following the manual, it tells me to put together the head, so I'm going to glue the head to the carapace now. I wanted him to be kind of like looking down and to the right, so that's the pose I did. Now it's time for the legs. They aren't really that posable, but you can get away with, certain kinds of angles. So I decided to go for a kind of running kind of appearance with the legs and feet. As for the manual, it states that I have multiple different options for weaponry. So I went for the chain sword on the left hand, and I went for some kind of bolter chain gun on the right hand. Here's my second mistake. In my haste, I put in the arm socket upside down, so I had to fix that. Now it's time to make the chain bolter. I think it's pretty cool because it's got a little shield on it. Assembly was straightforward. Just take one part, put a little bit of glue on it, put another part on it, you know, and just repeat that until it's finished. Avoiding my previous mistake, I actually put the arm socket in correctly this time. Surprise, surprise, the chain bolter is pretty heavy, so I had to find a way to brace it up against something to hold the weight there while the glue dries. So in order to get a decent placement, I took the feet off of the sprue and put them onto the base and pressed them down to make indents and to get a general idea of how big everything's going to be when it's fully assembled. I also put down the trees too, so I'd also get a good idea of how much clearance the actual, I almost call it a Jaeger, the Titan would have when in the base. One mistake to another, I call it a fucking Titan, it's a knight. One of the biggest problems I had was actually getting the hips to align properly, because I want him to be having that forward lean, but not to the point where, you know, he's falling over. Here's also the shortcoming with these legs. They are one solid piece, and the hips have these two joints that connect to the legs, and that makes it very hard to actually pose it in anything other than, you know, almost standing straight up or pre-positioned legs forward or backwards. I was able to get the actual upper torso to sit perfectly on the legs for a little bit, but for some reason I decided to go around and mess it up, and yeah, I had to redo the entire thing again. It was about that time that I decided to actually finish gluing the feet to the legs, so I put the right foot, or I mean the right foot, I put that one all the way backwards and the left foot all the way forwards. Because, you know, he's supposed to be walking after all. That's when I got the good idea to actually glue the hips to the legs in the base. So I have an idea of how flat the hips need to be in order for the torso to sit how I want it to. Also say hi to the guest of the day, Jinx. Anyway, with the legs nice and set, it was time to glue the actual torso to the legs. This time I actually held the torso in place while the plastic cement actually welded the two plastics together. There's a goddamn hair on my model. To the untrained eye, or the trained eye, whichever one you prefer, you will notice that there is a set of glossy patches all around the base. So what I did to counteract that was I took more of the Mod Podge gloss, and then just applied that and just covered the entire base with it. I figured I might as well just make this into a diorama covered in rain. So I just took the gloss and I just slopped it everywhere, even trampling some of the grass patches I made, unfortunately. Remember to clean your paintbrush, boys and gals. Size comparison time. So here's a 6mm Soldier, an Abrams, and Steve. I named him Steve, by the way. Now I'm going to get a little soapy here. If you want to skip this part, skip to 9:38. My biggest support has always been my mother, and I decided to make her one of the knights as a special kind of gift, because she's always been there for me. You know, she supported me the most. As a matter of fact, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't even be making YouTube videos or even making these models for you guys. So this is the least I can do to say thank you to her, at least, and I hope she likes it. I'm pretty sure she does. Anyway, soap over, back to the video. So I felt airbrushing the knight in Vallejo metal color steel would be a good idea, and I figured it was so boring that I totally did not forget to hit the record button, so yeah. I wanted to add a little more modern pizzazz to it, so I took a BTR-80A and I covered it in Mod Podge gloss to give it a shiny appearance to make it look like it's been rained on. I painted the knight in light gray, and I figured it was so boring that I, again, did not totally forget to hit the record button. So I used black to make a inverted V with 2 dots in it, and I repeated that on all 4 sides. At the end, I decided to give more of a reference to see just how big this thing is. So I painted up a little 6mm soldier, and I put him hiding behind the BTR like he's hiding from the knight, and the knight is searching for him. This also pays homage to the inspiration for this diorama. Now to the finishing stages. So I took my Mod Podge bottle and I put the diorama on top of it, and I'm now going to use black to coat the sides to draw the eyes away from the sides and up to the actual diorama. A tip I picked up from doing this is using the fine edge of the paintbrush to actually coat the very, very top edges, because that'll, if you're careful, prevent any black from getting onto the actual diorama. And here it is. The diorama is finished, and I think it looks pretty cool, honestly. I do believe that I did mess up on the paint job of the knight, because I caked on a lot of different paints. I didn't mix paints properly. I painted the body as well, and the body I should have kept the metal color that I already had, but mistakes. I'll learn next time I make some that I should keep the armor as separate as possible so I can paint it. If you enjoyed the video, I haven't posted for 4 or 5 months now, but if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, comment your ideas, whatever. I am temporarily doing a flurry into Warhammer, these bottles, but I will be returning to my normal 6mm scheduling probably sometime during the winter, so December or so. With that out of the way, have a good day or night wherever you are, and goodbye, I guess.